Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV 7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. My friends, come and join me for just a moment and imagine how awesome you'd feel living the unique and distinct life that you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you, it makes a very happy life. And so can my friend, Sarah Kaufman. Sarah first joined us over 10 years ago when we interviewed her in print. Today, she returns in person, not to visit who she was, but to reveal who she has become. Because it's been said, no woman ever steps into the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and she's not the same woman. And today, we're taking another step back into our river series. And before we bring her on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank her for being our guest star today. We call it When Grace is a Verb. And it goes like this. Some people write to be noticed. Sarah writes to help others see the quiet beauty in a gesture, the soul beneath civility. She watched the dancers leap and turn, then searched for words that moved as well, because grace is not perfection. It's how we rise, respond, and dwell. A stranger's kindness, a steady hand, a sentence shaped with care, a life that moves with gentleness in a world that rushes everywhere. And somewhere in the verbs of living, welcoming, listening, forgiving, Sarah discovered something true. Grace is not a thing we have, it's something we do. This is When Grace is a Verb, and Sarah's here to remind us all the world changes one graceful movement at a time. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow. I really have tears right now. Those were some beautiful words you really captured, and improved beyond what I could say, what I aim to do. So thank you for that. It was really, really beautiful.
It's my pleasure. So please get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
Yeah, I am writing. I have just published another book aimed at helping people, and it's called Verb Your Enthusiasm. The subtitle is How to Master the Art of the Verb and Transform Your Writing.
Hmm.
And writing and teaching have become even deeper and more profound passions of mine since I wrote the first book that you mentioned, The Art of Grace, which was about 10 years ago now.
Hmm.
But I combine the writing and the teaching in this new book about using the expressiveness and the fire and elegance of verbs to elevate your writing and to give it a lot of life and vitality. And to really, my message is to look into yourself and see exactly what you respond to, what your
Hmm.
reactions are, what your perception is. And then the verbs will come and help you to express that. Because as you mentioned in the poem so beautifully, life is about change. One,
Hmm.
hopefully graceful moment to the next. All moments can be graceful if we choose to look at them that way for sure.
Yeah.
But it is about change. And nothing captures that as well as verbs. And there's so many verbs we can use. And in looking at life as action and activity, I think can inspire writers to really tune into their own perceptions. So this sprang from my life as a journalist, as a dance critic. As you referenced in your poem, I wrote about dance for 27 years at the
Hmm.
Washington Post. But 3 years ago, my husband and I left Washington, D.C. and moved to Western North Carolina, which
Ah,
is a joy every morning when I wake up and I look out my window. It's like a painting, it's so
yeah.
beautiful. As you know, I know you're not far away. Um,
No.
so this has been a joy to live here. But what really is so, I mean, that's part of, I think, my enthusiasm for life at this point. But really what's most significant is my shift to writing only what I want to write about. I
Ah,
don't have a boss. I can look at what is most meaningful and
yeah,
important to me, what I most want to share with other people,
yeah,
and be creative, and
yeah,
explore my own imagination. And
yeah,
that has been a profound shift.
yeah. That's great. And so, when did you realize that you were gonna you're gonna write a book about verbs? Didn't that seem like a little bit of a scary thing to do, and that nobody would pay attention? So, tell us about that subject, and then what surprised you most since you've written and published the book about the book.
It was a bit, it was a challenge when I started thinking about this idea. It was definitely a challenge. I came to it because as a writer of dance, I needed to use a lot of verbs. That's how I
Hmm.
brought the art to the page, and I didn't want it to be like boring verbs, the same verbs over and over, leaped and jumped. I wanted to really capture those flashes of artistry, the poetry that dancers weave in front of us, but that vanishes step by
Yeah.
step. It's gone. And I had to really train myself to watch it and be aware of it, perceive it, remember it, and then express it, interpret it in a new art form, in
Hmm.
the art of writing. And really verbs came to my rescue because I could kind of catch a moment by the tail, by
Hmm.
talking about, dancers billowing across the stage or arcing from one moment to the next, from one partner to the next, cartwheeling. I mean, there were so many fun action words that I could turn to. And I do believe in using a thesaurus, by the way. It is not
Hmm.
cheating. I often get that question. No, like we should not even for a moment think of that as cheating. Like, do we have the
Oh no.
dictionary memorized? No.
Right.
The
Right.
thesaurus is a wonderful tool, whether it's a bound one or an online one. Just
Yeah.
like build your vocabulary and have some fun.
Yeah.
But so so I thought, I want to share this like maybe overlooked artistic tool in writing, which is
Hmm.
verbs. I started thinking about it, and I'm also a deep word nerd. I started out in journalism as a copy editor, and grammar and editing, and fixing sentences, eliminating clutter. That was all like a big pleasure for me, and reading books about writing, feeds into that. So I thought I would combine those interests
Hmm.
of like
Hmm.
words, using words, but then also my experience teaching writing and realizing that often a writing problem is a verb problem, or a
Hmm.
clear verb can get a writer out of a corner.
Hmm.
But it also, and this the message of my book, is to turn inside and investigate what you really think, how you are perceiving the world, because
Hmm.
that will color what what writing comes out, and how you perceive. Is a person stumbling or swanning? Is
Yeah.
are you just is a person just doing a great job at something, or they may be coloring the gaps in a life.
Hmm.
They're verb phrases, and when you start thinking about fresh metaphors and fresh ways of expressing something through an action, it really can light up your own imagination. And that's
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to share with this book.
Very good. And before we move on, what about the art of grace? How does that continue to impact your life and the lives of those around you now, more than 10 years later? So, how alive is that book still for you?
It is absolutely alive. I'm so proud of that book, and I continue to get wonderful reactions from readers about it. I get invitations to talk about it. It's That book was such a pleasure to write. It was like the book on verbs, a journey of discovery for me, and more about what I learned. from so many people I spoke with, spiritual leaders, um, teachers, servers in restaurants, you know, um, athletes, ordinary people. Everybody has kind of a view of grace and they're all a little bit different. But what I
Yeah.
set out to do was try to find kind of the common denominators and what linked spiritual grace with physical grace, like a dancer or an athlete might have, and also social grace, like, that warm friend who welcomes you into their home or just, holds the door open for you, like, a total stranger might do, and just gives you a
Yeah.
little leap of joy in your heart.
Yeah.
I wanted to just tie all that together, and that perspective continues to color how I see the world and the
Yeah.
grace around me.
As a great book, one of my favorites. It's how I came to meet you. And from that book, I was just starting out at Happy Living, and I wrote a blog post called "The Grace of a Stripper," and just to kind of what you wrote about. And the message is, you can find grace in every single walk of life, and the opposite also. And so it's really a matter of choice. It's not about your circumstances.
Exactly, 100%. And it's
Yeah.
it's embodying, the
Yeah.
warmth and generosity and outgoingness to other people,
Yeah.
bringing them in and making them feel welcome is really at the heart of it,
Yeah.
generosity and warmth. And
Yeah.
that you can find everywhere.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right, Sarah, let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's very simple, but it's super powerful, and it goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power you need to get things done, whether it's physically or mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, what do you do on a regular basis to create the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
I love this question and I love this formula, but power for me, it starts with the body. I feel like the body is the first thing we need to take care of. We live
Mm,
in this body, it houses our spirit, it houses our outlook on the world. So much of our knowledge and awareness comes through the body, through all our senses and emotions,
mm,
not just through mental cognition. And so the body itself is this great source of power. And
mm,
I take care of myself. I get activity every single day. I swim, I take
mm,
long walks, we hike on the weekends. And if I can't go outside for some reason, I do YouTube workouts in right here in my office. I roll out my mat. Um, so that's number one. And another source of great power for me is friendship. So I have
mm,
wonderful friends here, and I nurture, I take care to nurture those friendships, but they just feed me in so many ways. As we all know, those human connections, you learn so much
yeah.
and you're developed so much inside through friendships. And especially I love the fact that, Asheville's kind of small and we have friends from all walks of life and all ages. And I
Mm,
like that mix of ages that is just very inspiring. And then spiritually, I mean, my spiritual practice is the outdoors. It's
mm,
getting outside and walking. And I could find that in downtown Washington, D.C. too. I mean, I could take a
mhm,
walk and just kind of reset myself
mhm,
walking through the neighborhood. So it doesn't have to be in an exotic, landscape or anything, but just getting outside. Um, to me, nature is the realm of wonder. That's where the magic is. That's where
mhm,
the answers lie. And if I am feeling, particularly at a high point or even particularly at a low point, I go outside and I look at these mountains and, you know, I could feel them looking at me and saying, like, get over yourself. Like,
yeah.
get a grip, just enjoy, savor this,
Yeah.
We're here for a really long time, but you're not. Your life is short. And I feel like if I look at things that way, which you can't help but do when you're in nature, right? These things
Hmm.
that survive without complaint. Um,
Yeah.
it sets your head in a certain way, it gets your
Yeah.
head straight and it quiets me.
Yeah. Very good. All right, Sarah, let's discuss my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements will add up over time to yield great big results. And it's so powerful because it's about mindset, not circumstance. So Kaizening life is knowing I can always do something better tomorrow than today. And it creates a gentle, relentless, never-ending power that keeps lifting me higher and higher day after day after day. So Sarah, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continue giving more, impacting even more lives?
Yeah, so to Kaizen my life, first of all, that's an awesome verb. A new verb that I learned from you. So that's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, I am a big believer in small and steady steps. I mean, I may want to procrastinate. That comes to me quite frequently, but
Mm,
I tell myself this essay is not going to write itself. This chapter is not going to write itself. Let me just sit down for 15 minutes. Let me just give
yeah,
15 minutes to this. And then if I'm, really not feeling it, I can put it aside and come back the next day, but I need to come back the next day. And I need to
yeah,
have that belief in these small and steady steps. And so I just tell myself, just start anywhere. Get
yep,
started, get a little bit done, and the next day get a little bit more done. I don't have to chain myself to a project because there's no joy in that.
right,
The joy is losing yourself in it. And sometimes that doesn't come. And I find the best thing is just make a small step today and come back for
yeah,
another step. But the other thing that has focused me on this is coming up against my own mortality,
mm,
because in the whole time, the 2 years that I really spent writing this book, the major chunk of it, I happened to lose three members of my immediate family, as well as
mm,
our two cats.
mm,
Um, I was also the caregiver for my father, who is one of those family members I ended up losing.
mm,
But for a year and a half, he lived with us. We took care of him, and that was really wonderful. But I also had a book to write, and I had to be disciplined. I had to
hmm,
be disciplined. I had to be patient and flexible for interruptions that came up, for making
yep,
those small steps regardless. And, the belief in discipline and making small progress, even if I wanted to make great progress, just small
yeah,
progress was good enough certain days. And I believed in that.
yeah. Yeah, I've used a very similar approach and only use exercise as an example. But if I'm not feeling like I want to go exercise, just go have a lousy workout.
There you
And,
go.
so just don't put your pressure on. But then when you get there, and I'm sure like with you, when you get your first 15 minutes of writing, it often just continues on. So I think it's a really
So
smart
true.
idea to say, just go ahead and start it and give yourself a little grace if it's not working for you.
Yes, beautifully
Yeah,
put. That's very true. You just kind of need to release the cork, let it flow,
correct.
and it may be, yeah, maybe like
Yeah,
clunked up and gunky at first, but the more like you let it flow, then you
yeah.
go deeper and deeper, and it may appear, it may surprise you.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to purpose, the second part of our happy formula. And I've observed that major life transformations, those great big discoveries of purpose, often come from devastation, addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster. Some horrible thing strips a life to its core, resulting in a big and often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So, how about you, Sarah? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the unique and distinct purpose you were meant to live?
Yes, I mean, actually, I can think of two, and one of them was that when I was a child, when I was 7, I had to have surgery. I had to have kind of experimental heart surgery. Must have been
Mm,
terrible for my parents. You know, I really
mm,
wasn't caught up in the anxiety of it, but I had a heart defect that needed to be fixed.
mm,
And so I had long periods of time in the hospital before then, and then for some time after that, I was kept away from physical activities. It probably wouldn't be the way doctors would handle it today, but I spent a lot of those early years of my life on the sidelines. You know, no kickball, no after school sports, no gym class. And that could have kind of baked in a sense of loneliness because I did have to spend some time alone and apart. But what saved me was books. And I
mm,
just lost myself in books. Then I decided to write, on my own, and I would lose myself in writing. I would race home from school and, I had my little black and white composition notebook and would write stories. So that really stoked in me that I could do something, that I had a real appetite for something, even if it
mm,
wasn't what, a lot of my friends were into. That could be a thing that I did, and I ended up loving it, just
mm,
absolutely loving it. So that experience of the hospitals and the tests and procedures and all that really helped turn me into a writer.
mm,
And the second thing is that I was laid off from my job. So my husband had already found a job down here in North Carolina. We had already been planning to move, but my planned departure when I was going to announce, I'm retiring, was actually interrupted by being laid off in a
oh,
round of layoffs at the post that continued, and has only recently kind of wrapped up. So all of a sudden, it was all like very dramatic. I mean, I didn't get a cake, I didn't have like applause from my
mm,
colleagues. It was all like this very different experience of leaving a job I had already planned to leave, but
mm,
I was in a swirl of emotions. I mean, that's not like a fun thing to go through.
no,
But
ma'am.
what it did was it just like energized me. I mean, I
Mm,
found I didn't feel down about it. I felt kind of like feisty and energized by it. And
mm,
that's what pushed me to say, like, oh, that I can now do whatever I want. I can
yeah.
write this book I started a little bit. I can now start doing this. I can do this other thing. We can move more quickly than we had planned. So it's so true that when life closes one door, another one opens. That was really a big moment where I found freedom.
Very good. And so, what inspired you to shift from observing and writing in the early part of your career to teaching and sharing what you've learned in these last few years?
Yeah, I mean, it started just by being asked to do it at the very beginning of when I started writing. One of the local universities got in touch with me, and I thought, okay, never done this before, but I discovered I really liked it. And I really liked working with writers because what I discovered is that writers, as I knew from the inside, really crave attention to their work. They want
Mm,
to know, they want feedback. Of course, positive feedback. You don't want to, you never want to be cruel, but really craved feedback. And that was something I loved to do. I love to really work with a writer on
mm,
their writing and, see what they have inside them and just give them ways and really inspire their own ways to bring
mm,
that out. So that was just a pleasure for me. And also, as I went on in my career and realized I didn't want to do journalism forever, well, what else was, what was I going to do with all these years I'd spent doing it? I had
Yeah.
a lot of experience. Why not share it? And I
Yeah.
sought out more opportunities to teach, and it just became a real, um, it's always a challenge. Every class I teach, I kind of restart and create anew. But that's where my creativity comes in, and then it's fed by my students' creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. All right, Sarah, thank you for that. Now let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
We are a community broadcasting network based in North Carolina, dedicated to providing accessible educational content to benefit everyone. Here at WYTV7, our mission is to provide transparency and integrity, sharing real-life touching stories that matter. We are an all-exclusive and diverse network, assisting others in youth empowerment training, helping the underprivileged, supporting and strengthening families and individuals, self-help awareness, giving scholarships, and helping essential community workers. Our mission is made possible by our wonderful volunteers, as well as supporters like you. Consider donating or volunteering with us to help us keep our mission going.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Sarah Kaufman, a woman who has spent her life watching, dancing, writing, teaching, questioning, and helping us to notice what matters most. From translating movement into language to helping the rest of us move more gracefully through life, Sarah reminds us that grace is not something we admire from a distance, it's something we practice. And Sarah, I just love how you teach and live grace in motion. And I think you're going to love this article that I found. It's called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It revealed something truly powerful, that the simple act of giving can become a gateway for discovering your reason for being on the planet. Science confirms that when we give our time, talents, and treasures, it doesn't just help others, but it transforms us too. Giving helps us rise above obstacles. It helps us find meaning, and it's even how we discover our purpose. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So how about you, Sarah? Has giving your time, talents, and treasure been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting through hardships and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Well, I agree with that. And I think that's just an incredible statement of really what we're put here to do, which I believe is to help each other
Mm,
get through this life, and get the most out of it, and really not solo, but helping one another. And I that's what I love about teaching. That's what I love about writing especially in a long form like a book, as I've done,
mm,
because I can really explore um, topics and research topics that I think are going to interest people that are maybe overlooked, like
mm,
how verbs can be expressive, how grace can be found everywhere. And it's in reaching out to people, I guess, maybe to go back to my being on the sidelines as a child following surgery and longing to join in. This is a way that I join in with the human family, with people I don't know, which is really what is so great about humans and our capacity for empathy. We can hear about somebody on the other side of the earth going through something horrible and
Yeah.
feel our hearts drop on the floor. We
Yeah.
want to reach out. And so by giving is the way that we do that, giving of ourselves and giving what's inside of us. And it's so important. And everybody has something to give. Everybody has a unique gift to give.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that. Everybody has something to give. I had a chance to interview Frank Shankwitz, who is the original, not the original, who has founded Make-A-Wish, the big Make-A-Wish Foundation. And he learned that lesson from an entrepreneur when he was a very poor kid with living with a single mom. And this mentor took him in and said that he ought to give or he ought to give something to the neighbor who is always fixing his lunches for him to send him to school because they didn't have much money. And Frank, a little 8-year-old boy, says, "What? I don't have anything to give. I'm poor." And this guy Juan Delgado said, "No, Frank, we all have something to give, and you can go over there and you can weed her yard, or you can do this, or you can do that." And it's exactly what you said. We all have something that we can give, and when we do, it's like the story just says, it makes us feel good too.
Mhm. It's transforming. It's
Yeah.
transforming exactly for us and for the people we give to. I mean, we had Hurricane Helene here a couple years ago, as I'm sure you were touched by that too. And what we saw that just sewed us more tightly into this community was all of the
The
giving.
outreach. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Everybody
Yep.
who had a chainsaw was out
Yep.
there clearing the
Yep.
roads.
Yep.
All you heard was chainsaws.
Yep.
Or if you had Starlink, you were inviting people into your front yard so that they could, use their cell phones
Yep.
or just anything. I mean, we had people come over, we had a gas stove, and some people only had electric. So when the power was out, we had people come over just with whatever they had in their refrigerators that was going bad, come
Yep.
and cook it in our stove, and we'll have a big cookout outside. And, it was just this circle of giving,
Yep.
unending circle of giving that was
Yep.
beautiful to see.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so the science says giving brings meaning to our lives, and the joy we feel when we're creating value for others confirms it. But there's something deeper at work, Sarah. I believe the magic of life comes when we're giving from living in our purpose, because that's where joy doesn't just touch the receiver, it flows to the giver too, and even to those witnessing the giving. And something else seems to happen there. Fear loosens its grip, self-focus shrinks, peace grows steadier, and hope grows stronger. And it all comes from aligning with purpose and becoming more so we can give even more. So, Sarah, I'd love our audience to witness what that magic looks like in your life. So please sit back, my friend, open your heart and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making in their lives because you're giving from living in your purpose. One person said, "This thoughtful meditation will stay with me for a long time." Sarah Kaufman's thoughts on the rare virtue of grace are both inspiring and uplifting. Humanity at its finest is merely what she is offering here, and we could all use a bit more of that in our lives. And another said, "Sarah Kaufman offers an old-fashioned cure to a modern-day ailment. The remedy for our culture of coarseness is grace." And another, "Actively useful, a book that makes you want to sit down and write." And others said that your work helps them to notice, listen, think, speak, cultivate, move gracefully, reform, emulate, enlighten, tune in, step lightly, act kindly, consider, sharpen, express, illuminate, transfer, live well, write, wield language honestly, communicate with eloquence. And finally, this person said, "This verb-filled outing reads like a dream." So, Sarah, how does all that incredible love make you feel?
Again, I'm getting kind of teary. That's really nice. Powerful words. Just fills me with a glow and That's tremendous. And it's the generosity of people to express those feelings that's so touching to me, that it takes time. I'm always so grateful when people send a note, an
Hmm.
email, or write a comment, because they've taken the time to put their thoughts into words, and that's a precious gift that I appreciate so deeply. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And that's it, folks. See that expression on Sarah's face? That's what this show is all about. We're here, Sarah, me, and all our guest stars, to encourage you, our listeners, to find that same magic in your life, because it's available to you. It's available to everyone. And it comes from this great, big, happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasure is a powerful pathway to discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings a deep joy to you, but also to those around you. So it seems that giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So Sarah, maybe to capture the entire exponential power of our happy formula, I've got to tweak it just a little bit more to power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I love it. I can't think of a better way to put it.
Very good. All right, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. We'll get into your realm of words. I love the power of words and how the right quote can help us notice something that we might otherwise overlook, a truth, a kindness, a shift in perspective, or even a deeper understanding of ourselves. And as I prepared for today, a few surfaced because they reflect your journey of observing, exploring, expressing, and helping the rest of us move through life with a little more grace. So I'll read each one to you and ask you to share the first thoughts that come to your mind. No rehearsing, just the truth. Here we go. From Walt Whitman, he said, "To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle."
Ooh, I love that. I love that. It is a miracle. I mean, every moment that we live, we could look at as a moment of grace, if we pay attention to it, and instead of spinning our thoughts into crazy, unconstrained directions, worries, regrets, worries about the future, regrets of the past, what's to come. If we just stay in the moment, which I think is what he's talking about, and also the space, that's great. The space that we inhabit, the space of
Hmm.
this room, this environment, this world.
Yeah. It's not on my list, but you reminded me of one of my favorite quotes ever is the present moment is where eternity, where our time intersects eternity. Only in the
Yeah,
present moment.
yeah, yep, right here in the present moment.
Yeah.
So much can happen, but it's beautiful what is happening right now.
Yep, yep. This is from Sarah Young. She says, living well is both a discipline and an art.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Living well. So the discipline, that's like what we were talking about with the power, whether it's
Mhm.
physical activity or spiritual practice or, emotional support, but it's
Mm,
also art, right? There's art in everything, and everybody has an art to what they do. If you're a
mm,
builder, maybe it's that the art, what is the excellence there? Well, maybe it's the way you join wood, the way wood corners come together and just like you
yep,
sand them, and then ooh, it's so beautiful. If you're a baker, maybe it's the smell and the beautiful crust that rises, in the
yep,
oven. I mean, there's art in everything. It may not be labeled art by artophiles, but it's there's art in the everyday, and there's art in every moment.
yeah. You just made me think of it when you said discipline is where the power is, because we talked about that. And art is the purpose. So it's the
Yes,
power
there you
plus
go.
purpose. Yeah. This is from Steve Maraboli. And he said, a kind gesture can reach a wound that only compassion can heal.
Oh, wow. That's really strong. I like that, because there are wounds inside us that we don't even realize we're still carrying.
Hmm.
And a kind gesture, a kind gesture, whether it's actual through actual human contact, or it also makes me think of when I hear music. Someone's
Mm,
written a song that just touches me inside,
mhm.
and that's like the imprint of that songwriter and that musical artist coming together to touch me or to touch you. We all have those
Yeah,
moments where it's whether it's from opera or from pop music or looking at a painting or a postcard or a photo where the artist who framed that in that way is touching you through their work in a
yeah,
deep place.
yeah. Very good. This is from Chef Francis Mallman. Love this guy. He said at some point in life, you have to turn around and say, I have to find my own way, my own language.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's beautiful. I mean, that's that's incredible. Our own language. I love that because we can play with this beautiful English language that we share. Any language has some degree of flexibility, but in
Hmm.
English we have a lot of flexibility. We can Kaizen things, we can make up verbs from nouns, and language is the vessel through which I bring my thoughts out of my brain into your
Yeah,
brain, into the brains of our listeners, and likewise, you to me and
yeah,
everybody to one another through this medium of language. So it's so powerful, but it's also very supple and flexible. We can form it to what's deepest inside ourselves that we want to
yeah,
share.
yeah. Very good. From T.S. Eliot, he said, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all the exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time.
Oh, nice. Yep. I mean, that's that circular phenomenon, right? You find yourself
Yeah,
back in a situation or a sort of similar situation, but you've learned a little bit more about
yeah,
yourself. Like you said, that extract of a poem at the beginning where you talked about not stepping into the same river twice because it's not the
right.
same river and you're not the same person.
Right, right. Yeah, very good. This is our show anchor from Goff. He said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yeah, make that small step. Take that 15 minutes, take a little bite, get something out,
Yeah,
and maybe let it flow a little bit longer than you expected, or just come back to it another time, but get started. Yeah, I
yeah.
like that.
Wonderful, Sarah. So these quotes and your responses remind us to notice beauty, practice grace, and keep exploring life with great wonder, compassion, and intention. And now, my friends, if Sarah's story has inspired you, if it lifted your spirit or encouraged you to move through life with more kindness and grace, then I invite you to share that energy with our incredible team at WITV7 who make this show possible. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage people in need. Every gift matters, small and large. With your support and their tireless work, lives are being transformed, and our circle of love keeps expanding. So donate today because it'll do good and it'll make you feel good too. Sarah, I love how you help us notice what so often goes unseen, the beauty and movement, the power in language, and the grace hidden in everyday life. And I admire the way you've taken a lifetime of observing, writing, and teaching and turned it into wisdom that helps the rest of us move through life with greater awareness and humanity. And I'm super happy that you shared your graceful, insightful, and verb-powered spirit on our show today. Will you take a moment to share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Well, thank you for that. I mean, again, you put it so well. I'm at a loss for words, but in answer to your question, yeah, think of it this way. The world needs what you have to give, what is inside you. And I want to encourage everyone to please share that, to feel supported in that. I think that we all need encouragement
Mhm.
to share what's in our imaginations, to share the creativity that we may not be used to indulging in. It may feel, a little self-indulgent to take time to really sit with yourself and let yourself daydream and come up with an idea or a fun twist on something. But please share that. Know that the world wants that. The world needs your story because
Mm,
we all crave a new perspective on something that we've overlooked, something we
yeah,
think we know. We crave that new perspective because that's fresh and that's life and that's connections.
yeah.
And that is what I want to leave people with to think about, that you have art inside of you, and you can sit with that and bring it out in some way, and that alone is going to connect with people and help make the world a warmer place.
100%. Thank you, Sarah. And just one more thing. If you could sit across from the woman that you were 10 years ago, what would you say to her?
Keep going. Keep going, sister. It's only going to get better.
Very good. Now, my friends, it's because of stories like Sarah's and listeners like you that we've been named one of the top 100 life purpose podcasts worldwide, ranked at number 17. So thank you. I appreciate your support for our mission and for sharing these stories of inspiration and purpose. I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Sarah and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you to our viewers and listeners. If you'd like to learn more about Sarah Kaufman, explore her beautiful work, connect with her writing, and bring a little more grace into your own life, you'll find all the links in our show notes. So find Sarah, follow her, buy her books, and perhaps practice a little more grace in motion. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So don't miss this. Go to happyliving.com right now on your phone and start at the top. We've created a place where people begin to believe, where real stories, powerful tools, and a deeper source of purpose all come together to unlock their power. And that's what we want for you. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.